eventually I had two photo studios in Manhattan, one on Union Square where I was for 17 years, and then a loft, which I bought in 95 on the corner of Broadway and Houston, where I was for another 17 years. My work was primarily fashion and advertising. 90% was with models. I also contributed to Corbis and Getty Stock for a long time. My career was long and varied. Most of it was shooting film. I sold my loft in 2012 and moved to Coconut Grove. Searching for a way to change and expand my career, I started traveling to exotic locales that could inspire me and my resulting photographs. From these adventures sprung a new purpose and excitement for me, which resulted in me showing my pictures at local art fairs. It's been a great second act, and I am really gratified with the appreciation I have gotten through my audiences at the art fairs, as well as the sales from my images. To date, I've sold over 400 prints and metal pieces. Having my work at the Miami International Airport last year was fantastic, and I was thrilled to get first place for photography at Stevens Art Festival, St. Stephen's Art Festival this year, just before everything closed down. I'm also thrilled to be a presenter at Rancho La Puerta in December if things do open up. The thing I love most about photography is how it transports you to an intense awareness. If you are out with your camera, you are totally focused and living in the moment. A lot of my work is the opposite of a grab shot. It's not always that I haven't gotten those, but usually my work is more directed. I want to interact with my subjects as much as possible. I guess that is from my many years of shooting models. Obviously, you can't do that with a lion, but is what I do with people. You absolutely can't tell anyone to pose or manipulate a photograph if you're shooting for Magnum or the news. Then there are the images that exist as artful pieces. Those types of images can be directed and manipulated. I think my work falls into this category. Most of my prints are sold as collector prints. They are signed and numbered and bought by people to hang on their walls. For example, in this photograph, I did ask the fishermen to line up this way, and on the count of 3, I had them raise their baskets. It didn't always work, but we did it about 10 times, and I liked this one the best. The bird was impromptu, no direction for him. So with that, I will start the pictures. And bear with me because I have to look at what I've written on the list. So these are 2 tribes, the Samburu and Turkana near northern Kenya. Here's a picture of the Taj Mahal, and it's an interesting story because I was there with a guide at 6:30 in the morning, and he was taking me around and kept saying, "No people, no people." And then I saw these 2 women, and I left him and ran over to them. And I did ask them to do the namaste, and I thought it was pretty interesting because they were wearing the same outfit. I guess they were sisters, I don't know, but it is an unusual picture of the Taj Mahal. So this is at Lake Turkana. There was a festival of different tribes, and this is in her tent. This is also at the Camel Festival in Pushkar, and it's one of India's largest camel festivals with horses and cattle fairs. It's in Rajasthan. This is also at the Pushkar Camel Fair. The guy on the left is a sadhu, which is a religious man, and one on the right is a camel trader. And here's another camel trader. He knew I was photographing him. This is a tribe called the Himba. And this is new from last year. I went to Namibia in June, and it's a country right above South Africa. This tribe are semi-nomadic people who live in one of the most extreme environments on Earth, the deserts that border Namibia and Angola. As water is scarce, they use a mixture of pastes on both their bodies and hair. These pastes blend the aromatic resin of Omazumba shrub with animal fat and ground red pigmented stone. This oat-seed paste gives the women's skin and hair a distinctive red glow, which symbolizes both blood, the essence of life, and the earth's rich color. And they rub this all over their bodies. They don't have running water, so this is kind of like their shower. This one is also the Himba in the village, and hairstyles play a significant role with the Himba and reflect marital status, age, wealth, and rank within the group. Hair braiding is a communal activity with a range of styles differing from tribe to tribe. Close relatives spend hours creating elaborate and socially symbolic hairstyles. The braids they create are often lengthened by including bits of woven hay, goat hair, and artificial hair extensions. Hair is also seen as a symbol of fertility amongst the Himba community, where thick braids and lustrous hair indicates a woman's ability to bear healthy children. Women who have been married for about a year or have a child wear an ornate headpiece called the uremba, sculpted from sheep or goat skin. With many streams of braided hair colored and shaped with otizi paste, they will also be given a necklace that incorporates a cone shell, known locally as an ohumba, which is considered a symbol of fertility. I bought one of these and I have it in my house. I think it's really cool. I wanted to show you this because we brought a black backdrop with us when we went to photograph the Himba. And we also brought some studio lights. So this picture is created with that backdrop, just hung on a van with, you know, two large soft boxes, or maybe one soft box and another light. And we used that lighting to capture quite a few of the tribal members. I'll show you another one soon. This is the Himba, you know, walking in the dunes at sunset. Oh, sorry, I was just turning it on the laptop. Okay, that's the Himba as well, dune walk. So the lady on the right, well, they both are from the San tribe. And that village is referred to as a living museum. They are sometimes also called Bushmen. They are descendants of the first Homo sapiens. They are the oldest gene pattern of any existing people. And it is thought that all nationalities are descended from them. Historically, the San were hunter-gatherers who maintained a nomadic lifestyle. This meant that they moved throughout the year in accordance with the availability of water, game, and edible plants as they used to substitute for their diet. Women are considered equal and decisions are made as a group. It is estimated that there are about 100,000 San still living in South Africa. So the picture on the right was made with the backdrop. And the one on the left basically is a grab shot. She was walking away, and it's not the same woman, but she had been photographed. And I think the really interesting thing about this photo is that the child is not holding on, it's not attached with anything. It's just holding on to her. So I think it's pretty interesting. This is another San, mother and child in their hut. I mean, the background just went black. It was not photographed on a black background. Okay, second. This was probably the only photo I have that's shot with a flash. The flashes bounced off the ceiling of the hut. It was a rainy night, and this is the Maasai, and I got to go in there, and I photographed a lot of them like a studio inside the hut. And this is the Maasai the next morning. That's their clay huts you can see in the background at the Samburu National Park in Kenya. And just a close-up of some of their the Samburu bracelets and rings, things that they make and wear. Just a departure. This is a shot of a woman in Rajasthan trying to make a few pennies, offering people water. Of course, we would never drink from that. We'd probably die. I thought this was a cool shot because it's in this Jaisalmer fort in Rajasthan, and she actually invited me into her room, but wouldn't take off her veil. But I did get this shot, and it shows the interior pretty well. This is a fellow in Varanasi, beggar, and you know, just he was nice enough to let me photograph him. Now, I did a lot of photography in the Omo Valley, and the tribes, the Omo tribes live on the Omo River in Ethiopia. It's the Rift Valley. It's a volcanic region which provides a vast range of pigments, red ochre, copper green, yellow, light ash gray. The Omo tribes are geniuses at body painting. They draw with open hands, the tip of a nail, sometimes with a piece of wood, a reed, or a crushed stem. These two women were shot at very different times. The one on the left was done she's from the Turkana tribe, and she was done at the Turkana festival. The one at the right was done, is a Maasai, and she was done in Kenya in the Mara, which is a park called the Masai Mara Park. These are back to the Omo again. The girl on the left I photographed many times. She's just a great model. It's the Kara tribe, and the boys are too. So it just gives you another example of that face painting. And the fellow on the left, that's Maasai, and he's coming out of his hut. And the boy also is Maasai from the same tribe. That's the Desinech tribe, also in the Omo. Another, I think she's from the Kara, actually. This picture, it's one of my most successful pictures. I've sold it many, many times. And I actually made this as a metal print for someone. It's my biggest one. It was 75 by 48. Very, very big picture for a family that lives on Bayshore Drive in Coconut Grove. But I've sold it so many times to different people, different sizes. Beautiful child from the Omo. And just a departure. This is also a picture I've sold a lot. This is India Madurai. Offering, you might want to ask, why are the Indian children bald like this? And they put that gold on their hair to block their heads from getting sunburned. But they believe that offering your hair to God is a symbolic gesture of surrendering one's ego and a way of giving thanks for your blessings. Indians shave their children's heads at the age of 4. It teaches humbleness and devotion. Children with shaved heads are viewed as innocent and holy and are treated with respect. Obviously, probably you all know this is the Day of the Dead. and it's observed the first 2 months of November. Um, the holiday helps the living celebrate the loved ones who have died. The most common design is to paint the face to resemble a skull. The skull has a uniquely positive meaning in Dia de los Muertos, very different from the skeleton or ghost of Halloween. Skulls are a positive symbol of not only death, but of rebirth. And skull painting is a chance to overcome the fear of death, act recklessly, and just celebrate life. This is a recent photo. I had gone to just recently, my last trip. If I ever take another one, we'll see. But I actually came back February 10th from very northernmost tip of India. It's called Nagaland, and it was a really, really hard trip. It was like 38 to 42 degrees almost every day for a week. We stayed in huts all around the area, and there was no heat, no electricity. We had a shower with buckets. If you've never done that, I don't think you'd want to. It was a very hard experience. This is from the Mon district, which is the northernmost district of Nagaland. It's bounded by the state of, if anyone's Indian, Arunachal Pradesh to the north, Assam to the west, and Myanmar to the east. And the Koniak tribe or village is ruled by hereditary chiefs known as Angs. This woman is the chief's mother. The Longwa village has the home of the chief, and one half of the chief's house falls within Indian territory, and the other half lies under Myanmar control. So they have two flags with a division in the middle where the two countries meet. It's interesting. This is a mother and child. Actually, the people up there, they don't look Indian so much anymore. They look more like the people in Bhutan or Nepal. So this is a mother and child also in that area in Mon. It's a village called the Tang village. And I did not shoot it with a black background. That was the inside of her hut. And it just goes black, as you know, Beck. This is from the same trip. On the way, we stopped at a Hindu temple. It's called Shivadal in the Assam district. The temple, Dal means temple in Assamese, is dedicated to Shiva, one of the primary deities in Hinduism. So that's the shot on the left. On the right is the, it's called the Rangar, and it means house of entertainment. It's a two-story building which once served as a royal sports pavilion. So this girl, I had found her sitting outside with a bunch of people. She was very beautiful, so I actually asked her to pose for me. It kind of looks like a fashion shot from my old life, but you know, she was very gracious, and I actually like the shot of her from behind best, even though she did have a beautiful face. Okay. And just to illustrate, if you look on the shot on the left, I thought that doorway was beautiful, and I stayed there for a long period of time, photographing everyone who came in and out. I mean, I could show you like 5 more, but I'm just going to show you this one. And this was also in the Shivadal temple. You know, they had a lot of offerings and interesting things in there. All right, just to change the pace. This was in Kolkata, also my most recent trip. I think this was on February 8th that I shot this picture. The morning that I flew out, we went to Kolkata and walked around. And this is a bride. She was just getting married. She was so happy. She was walking around with the groom, and was nice enough to let me take a few shots of her. This was a girl I saw on the street there, same thing in Kolkata. I just thought she was beautiful. and got this picture of her. The flower market in the morning. I actually went in and made the background black in Photoshop using the eraser tool because it was very, very busy. I shot it with a wide angle lens, and it came out pretty cool. I like it. This is a little boy who was with his family in the flower market, and there he is with the grandmother and his mom. And this, this was the flower market on, I thought it'd be interesting for you guys to see it on February 8th. So I know it doesn't look like that now. I mean, look at all the people, they're so close together. Will we ever get back to that? I don't know. Change of pace. This is from Lalibela, where I went for a pilgrim candlelight ceremony for Christmas. And their Christmas day there is January 7th. And this was photographed with candlelight. I thought it would be interesting for you to see that. And this one are two Berbers that I ran into in the desert. I just was taking a walk. I went by myself, and I did a whole photo shoot with them. Tons of photos. I'll show you another one later in landscape, but they were walking to, they were walking from. They, you know, in the end, they just asked me to buy a couple of things from them, like, you know, that they were carrying in their knapsack, which of course I did, but how good looking were they? Anyway, that is my first part, which is the people segment. I don't know if anyone wants to ask questions now or wait till I do the next three segments. What do you think, Walter?
Yeah, I think we can ask a few questions now. So, for example, on first question, on the first images that you were showing on the tribe, it will be interesting to know, how did you learn all the details about their culture and all this information you're giving us? If you did your homework before, or if you asked them questions, or and how came about?
Okay, no, I could not ask them questions. They didn't speak my language.
Yeah, of course.
But okay, so basically, I learned a lot about them from one of my main guides who ran the tour. Her name is Piper McKay. And also, a lot of this stuff, I mean, I spent a lot of time there. So we had quite a few African guides with us that told us, you know, so many things about them. I also look on Wikipedia, I read about it, because when I do the shows, and I don't know if any of you have been to my tent, but I put up a lot of information, a lot of cards on the photos describing what they are and what it is. So when people come in, they spend a lot of time reading, because I have a lot of labels like on many of the photographs. So that's how I know. I mean, it's meaningful to me. And maybe, you know, with all this free time I have now, maybe I'll create a book, you know, try something different like that. But I just like to know the history of a lot of the people that I'm photographing.
Yeah, we also have a question from Brian. I'm gonna let him ask his own question that he sent it on a chat. Brian, go ahead. Brian? Okay, let me read his question. He says, are you there?
Yeah.
Okay, Brian wants to know, what did you use for lighting in the various portraits? Also, did you get signed photo releases?
Okay, good question. I have not gotten signed photo releases because I spent years shooting stock and creating pictures for stock. And I had to have signed releases for every model that I photographed. But that's only if you're using them for advertising. And I do not put these pictures into stock. I would not use them for advertising. I only sell them, like I told you, as collector's prints or metal prints for people for their homes. So I don't put them out there to advertise any products or, you know, anything. So I don't need a signed release. And then as far as the lighting goes, all natural light, except for the photo that I told you that I used a bounce. Oh, and then the one we brought the black background where I used, they brought a softbox. But everything else is natural light.
Hey, Sandy, you want to go ahead and ask your question?
Yeah, sure. I was just curious if I know you said you purchased some items from those two guys out in the desert, but did you offer anybody else money in order to get them to pose for you? I mean, I know people that do travel work, and sometimes it doesn't cost much, but they give them a few dollars just to, you know, just to have them pose for them. They're very happy with that usually.
Oh yeah, no, that's a great question. Well, it's different with so many different people. In the Omo Valley, it was a thing. I don't think they're doing it anymore because it started like really spoiling the tribes. But when I went, we were given African money in very small bills. And, you know, we started offering, you know, not offering, but the people expected it. And it was like, you'd hand them a bill and it was worth like, I don't know, 90 cents or something, you know? But what happened is that all of a sudden they'd be like, you know, clamoring around you and following you everywhere, like some crazy, you know, like you were like, okay, look, there's somebody else shooting over there. Go to them, you know? But they would kind of gravitate towards you because they saw that you were, you know, like doing a shoot and whatever. So it was hard. So that we did do that for that one trip in Ethiopia, where the Omo Valley was. After that, I can say that with the Himba tribes, my guide, the person who organized the trip, gave them, he doesn't give them money. He brings them sacks of food, maybe medicine, things that they can use, you know, in the village. So there was that. The Turkana was the same thing. She donated a lot of things to them. Sometimes we brought pens. They loved pens. So it differed from place to place. I mean, in the streets of Kolkata, I gave nothing. You know, I never gave any money or anything to those people. And the pushcart people, no, nothing, no. So it just differed from place to place. I certainly didn't give any money to those fishermen that were raising the nets, or to the, you know, like I said, the Turkana tribe. I've tried to go online and donate to the tribes because I want to, you know, give back to them.
Thank you.
Okay, so I think Jerry wants to ask a question.
Sure.
Hi, thank you for joining us again and giving us such a wonderful show. The last picture of the Berbers, where was this? And they look familiar.
They look like actors, right?
No, they look like, I was in Morocco last year, and they look like the same guys.
No, I don't think, well, okay. It was at, let's see, where was that desert in Morocco? I don't really know. Is it the Sahara Desert? I think it might be.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we were staying in a beautiful hotel there that we also could stay in tents. I elected to stay in the hotel. It was right at the edge of the desert. It had a
Right.
swimming pool. I don't know if you stayed there, but you would have to be there to, I think, to run into them. I mean, I went into the dunes by myself and I just ran into them. It was like a miracle. So
Interesting.
You know, they were really great. They were really great.
Thank you.
Okay. I don't think we have any more questions right now, so if you want to.
I had a question, Walter.
Okay, who is this?
Roger.
Hey, Roger, go ahead.
Okay, I just, there was that shot of a woman in the veil and in her hut, or in her house. And I was wondering about the lighting. There didn't seem to be any shadows anywhere. And how did you take something out in post-processing, or was that all just natural? And I noticed in a lot of other places, there didn't seem to be a lot of shadows.
Oh, wait, sorry. How do I go backwards, Walter?
I guess you have to go
Okay.
on your, yeah, you can do that.
All right. So which woman with the veil? In the very
There was
beginning?
a woman, she had a veil. You said that she wouldn't take it off. It was one of the
Oh,
earlier.
her. I get you. I know. Okay. So it's this shot. Okay.
The question about
Yeah. I mean, her, let me go see what I shot that at if I have it. Let's see. All right, yeah, I did not put the thing in there, but her room was open. You know, in other words, she had a big doorway. It wasn't like dark, you know, daylight. She had a lot of daylight. And no, I don't know. I mean, it's obviously I don't remember exactly anymore, but I know I didn't use any light. I probably opened the lens and probably lightened it in post-processing, but I didn't take out any shadows. I know that.
Okay.
I mean, she kind of has a shadow going over her nose and her mouth a little bit.
Yeah.
So how long ago was that?
That was about, that's a good question. When did I go to the push car? Probably about 1.5 years ago.
Mhm. Okay.
I mean, mostly all of these pictures have been done in the last 3 or 4 years.
Okay. Do we have any more questions for this session, or should we proceed? We can always come back, you know.
Okay. All right, so I'm gonna escape for a minute. Go down. Okay, so I don't know if any of you have shot a lot of infrared. I know there was one in the couple of them were in the contest. So I really love infrared, and I do use it a lot. I always carry an infrared camera with me in addition to actually 2 other cameras when I'm out shooting. So I just wrote a few things about infrared if people don't know the specifics. Infrared photography is a look into the invisible world. The human eye can see wavelengths from about 400 nanometers. 1 nanometer is a billionth of a meter. I don't know what that means, but 400 nanometers to 700 nanometers is what the human eye can see. Infrared is light beyond 700 nanometers. IR photography typically involves infrared light in the 700 nanometer to 1200 nanometer range. I love this effect on tribal people as well as landscape. IR produces some very distinct effects which are aesthetically pleasing. The most striking difference is the wood effect, quote unquote, an effect where leaves reflect light, giving them a bright white look. The effect is named after the photographer Robert W. Wood, who is considered the father of infrared photography. The effect is utilized for landscape photography, where it can produce surreal color landscapes or high contrast black and white photographs. So I like this kind of a color in infrared. Some people like very colorful infrared. My infrared is pretty much shot, I think it's like 720 is the amount that I have usually. So this is a tribal person in the Samburu National Park. And I think the infrared works really good, really well here. This is a photo that's very popular in my art festival booth. Draws a lot of people. And this is real. I didn't put the goats in. The fruit of the argan tree in Morocco is particularly appealing to goats. They climb the trees and eat the fruit, swallowing whole the core, which looks a bit like an almond. The nut passes through the goat's digestive system and ends up in goat droppings, where it is collected from the ground at the base of the trees. To get at the oil inside, you would have to crack the nut open with a stone and grind the seeds inside. The resulting oil is the famous liquid gold, or argan oil. So I usually put that up in my show and people love to read it. And I went to a women's collective where you see them sitting there grinding, the oil, and the oil just drips out. It's really cool. So that's the goats in the trees, and it's in Essaouira. People have been to Morocco; they've probably seen them. So this is also the Omo Valley, the face painting. And that's the Samburu tribe. I really like this one. It's the Turkana tribe. This was shot the same night that I did that very colorful shot of the whole group of the two tribes together, the Samburu and the Turkana. This is a young girl from the Borana tribe in the Omo Valley in Ethiopia. This is, these are the huts they live in. This is their village. This is the Himba, obviously. She's really beautiful. And this just shows you, I just wanted to show you what the village really, this is what they look like with their huts and how they sit around and, hang out. I also wanted to show you just a few minutes later, I just converted the infrared to black and white, just to show, it's the exact same scene that actually the other shot looked pretty much the way it was shot in the camera, the way I had the camera set up. This is, and there she's wearing that necklace, you can see. This is the Omo again. And this is a tribe, these women were great. I really like this picture. This is the Borana in the Omo Valley. I just put that in just to, I should have put it with the animals, I guess, but it was infrared. These are, what do you call it, ostriches. This is in the Palouse, which I'll talk about a little later. I have a lot of shots from the Palouse, which is on the border of Idaho and Washington State. So this is recent. I just did this. I have a few, I really like this series. It's from Majuli Island, which is a river island in the Brahmaputra River, Assam, which is the area of northern India, very far north. This is where I was freezing in my hut. And it's Majuli is currently listed as the world's largest river island in the Guinness Book of World Records. We had to get there, we went there by ferry. And it's nothing like the ferries we know. It's hilarious the way they put the boats on with, rocks to hold them from, backing up and falling into the water. It's just crazy. So the infrared in the camera looked like that. That's the way it came out. And this is another example from that same morning of going out and just shooting around early morning, like 6:30 in the morning. This one too. This is from a place that I went to in Wyoming called the Hideout, which is, it's a ranch. And we spent a week there they have like 150 horses, and we spent a week there photographing the cowboys and the horses. This is, I mean, she really is, she looks like an ad from Ralph Lauren, but she was a cowgirl. She was a great rider, really, really great. This is in Kenya, the Mara. I had gone there to photograph the Great Migration. And it rained so much that the animals didn't migrate that much, but I did get some shots of them doing it. These are the wildebeest. This is a acacia tree in the Mara. And this is the way the infrared kind of rendered it. Even though I usually don't have any color, I you know, it came out like this, so I accepted it. This one, I may have turned it to black and white, but I'm not sure. It's also shot in infrared, though. These two girls are with the Ova Hakona tribe, and they're close to the Himba tribe. You know, they're like nothing you've ever experienced before. The biggest town around this village is called Opuwu, and it's essentially the last stop before you go to southern Angola. You're right near the Angola border. The villages have no electricity or running water, and the people live in grass and mud huts and survived almost completely through farming and ranching. Don't try and post anything like this on Instagram because I tried it twice, and the second time they threatened to take down my account. But I think it's a great shot. I like it. These are the Himba men, and unmarried men wear a single braid to show their status. Once they get married, they cover their heads, never to unveil them in public again. The Himbas practice polygamy, with both men and women being allowed to have multiple partners. I didn't know that actually while I was there, but I learned it later. Okay. This is a picture of an Apatani woman, and it is something, right? This was taken in a village in a town called Ziro, Z-I-R-O, in northern India. The women were considered to be, this is the legend, the women were considered to be the most beautiful in all of the Arunachal Pradesh. The legend goes, men of other tribes would often steal their women, which would lead the men in the tribe to tattoo the faces of the women and make them wear massive nose plugs in order to make them less appealing. So obviously these women are now old, they can't take the plugs out, and the whole village is filled with women that look like this. So it was pretty shocking, actually. This is a schoolhouse held up by a truck part, an axle in the Palouse. And there's a lot of barns and fields, and wheat fields there. And this is a schoolhouse. This is also in Namibia. I just wanted, I thought the infrared looked really great in this shot, and I, wanted to include it because I think it really illustrates what infrared can do. It's in a town that we stopped in just to get gas, I think, and fuel up, or a rest stop, and they had all these old jalopies there. And this shot was done in the Palouse. We went to like a yard where this guy had all these classic cars. Shot some in infrared. And so I just included these pictures are from actually my walk in Coconut Grove. I like this series. This is from, there's a very, very elegant hotel in Morocco called La Mamounia. And they had a really cool garden, so I was able to get these shots there. It's in Marrakesh. And I have a section in my website called Nudescapes, where I have, you know, a lot of nude pictures, and a lot of them are shot in infrared. These two were. The one on the right, I entered in the Capturing Coral Gables show at the Gables Museum, and I did get it in there, so that was cool. So that's the infrared. I don't know if people want to ask any questions about that one. Walter? Walter, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm sorry.
Okay. I don't know if anyone has any questions. That's the infrared section.
Yeah, I don't see any questions popping up right now.
Okay. All right. So then I'll go on to the next one, which is landscape. So this was done in Paro in Bhutan. This I put in because Morocco, this is a city called Chefchaouen. And it's a blue city. It's very, very hard to photograph people in Morocco. It's the one place you can go where no one will let you take their picture. They put their hands over their faces, they yell at you. You cannot photograph people there. So I like this courtyard. I stood there for about an hour, you know, waiting to see what would happen. This was, I guess, one of the better shots that I got. I really like this one. And then I got this one too. So I just want to show you two instances of just waiting and hanging out. This is one of my biggest sellers in the art show. This is the Chefchaouen, the same city, the same place. I think a lot of people have this shot actually. More Blue City pictures. All right. Then I went to this just recently. I was there in February as part of, actually I was there like January 30th probably. This is the Golden Temple in Amritsar, India. It's not only a religious place of the Sikhs, but also a symbol of human brotherhood and equality. Everybody, irrespective of caste, creed, or race, can seek spiritual solace and religious fulfillment without any hindrance. It represents the distinct identity, glory, and heritage of the Sikhs. 60,000 meals per day, every day, are served for free. All people sit together in rows on the floor, and enormous kitchens cook the food for the masses with volunteers doing all the work and serving. So this picture was taken at sunset the first night that we got there, I got there. And then in the morning, I just hung out in this one spot. And, you know, it's something that you could do, you know, you just stay in one place and see who comes by. So got them, they're ready to go in. They just go right into the water. That's the Golden Temple. This is in Lalibela, just like the rock formation. All the buildings are very, very rough hewn. It's a very cool place. And this is again is those two guys, my models in the desert. That's in Nepal, and inside a small temple. This I wanted to show you because this was at a truck stop, and it had a very busy background, and I just, again, used the eraser tool in Photoshop and took out the background, and it really made the picture pop. This is in Namibia. I mean, you've probably seen these pictures. It's called Deadly. It's a white clay pan located near the more famous salt pan of Susuvli in Namibia. I had to hike up a sand dune for what felt like a mile to get to this site. The pan was created when the climate changed, drought hit the area, and the sand dunes encroached on the pan, which blocked the river from the area. The trees died as there is no longer enough water to survive, and the remaining skeletons of the trees, which are believed to have died 600 to 700 years ago, remain. They're now black because the intense sun has scorched them. Though not petrified, the wood does not compose because it is so dry. So this picture, I just changed the white balance. In reality, the trees look more like this. So that is, you know, Deadly it's just a great place to photograph. If you can hike up the sand dune, I would recommend it. Now, this is not the sand dune I climbed. That is one of the highest sand dunes in Namibia, largest ones. Then I went in a helicopter over the Skeleton Coast, it's called, in Namibia. And I was able to, it was just myself, one other person and the pilot. And I just brought one lens with me and one camera because it's too dangerous. You're just really hanging out an open door. So it was a 70 to 200 millimeter lens. My friend, she brought a 100 to 400, and she was sorry because we were so close to the ground. I mean, she didn't need such a long lens. There's another shot from the helicopter. This one too. It's really, really interesting because it's just where the sand dunes run right into the sea. These are dunes from Morocco, where I met those guys. But yeah, and this is, if you recognize this, this is where that hotel was. You know, I'm shooting like almost from where the tree is from the deck of the hotel on the right, and the left is when I went for a walk in the dunes. This is completely different. This is the Thar Desert, also known as the Great Indian Desert. It's a large region in the northwestern part of India that covers an area of 77,000 square miles and forms a natural boundary between India and Pakistan. It's the world's 17th largest desert. And what we did here was our guide, you know, arranged for us to have these. First, we had to ride on camels to this spot, and then our guide arranged for these camel riders to, you know, go back and forth as the sun was setting, so that we could capture, you know, a shot like this. It's kind of a setup shot that really was not created by me, but I still like it. This is a place called Gadasar Lake, which is also in India, in Jaisalmer, and you know, it's just a cool place. This is sunrise. This is from the ferry on my way to Majuli Island in the morning, just a boat that we saw. I don't know if you've been to Bhutan, but this is the Tiger's Nest, and it's a sacred Himalayan Buddhist site located on the cliffside of the Upper Paro Valley, and it's a 2-mile walk up each way. I rode halfway up on a horse, which is something. But there are, you know, a lot of very, very old people that climb up to this thing very, very, very slowly. They probably don't get there till 5 o'clock. I don't know how they get back down, but it's a very, very steep hike. And then I've included some pictures from Iceland. because, you know, I think the technique, getting the smooth water, is something of interest to people. That's the church in Iceland called the Vik. Here you can see I'm behind the waterfall on a tripod. All these shots I'm on a tripod with very long exposures. Not that one so much. That's a faster, that's to capture the spray. But on a tripod, one of the few times. This is in Fire Island. There's a jetty. I have a house in Fire Island that I go up to in the summertime. So there's a famous jetty there in Ocean Beach. And again, long exposure on a tripod. Same here. This was the harvest moon just recently on Friday the 13th. What was it? I think it was in August 2019, and it won't be seen again until 2049. And this is in Wakotahachie, Delray. I just thought the blue flowers were cool, and I have sold this picture a lot. This is a triptych that I really like, and I've sold to a lot of people. This is in India, in a place called Alipay, and it's called the Venice of southern India, and you can ride through all these canals, which I did in a gondola, and that's how I photographed this. This is actually an infrared, which I put in Nik. I don't know if you know that program, but I put it into Nik and toned it like this. I put this in because this is from Cuba, and it's also in Nik. There's a program, Analog Effects, where you can make things look, it's in Camaway, and you can make it look kind of like old-fashioned. So I just wanted to show you that effect. I did the same thing here. This is Camaway. And this is the Palouse, where I was talking about before. The Palouse is one of the 7 wonders of Washington State. It's characterized by gentle rolling hills covered by wheat fields. The hills were formed over tens of thousands of years from wind-blown dust and silt called loess from dry regions to the southwest. Seen from the summit of 3,612-foot high Steptoe Butte, which is where I photographed it from with a 600mm lens. They look like giant sand dunes and were formed in much the same way. It's located on the Washington-Idaho border, and it's the 2nd largest wheat growing area in the world. So people will ask, you know, why is it purple? Why, you know, what are those flowers? What I can tell you is that, as I said, I was very far away. I had a 600mm lens. I don't know what it is. It could be lilac. I was there in June. It looks like this a lot too. This is from the same sunset, you know, from Steptoe Butte from the top, same time, just a different area. You know, we were there, you know, very late in the day. Different, same thing, just moved the camera. There's a lot of real interesting stuff up there to shoot. This is this is at the bottom. The fields really are this color. They're canola fields. And this is not from Steptoe. This is just from the side of the road, believe it or not. Same here in Palouse, from the side of the road. And this I just put in because I went on, if nobody's done it, I don't know if he's still doing it, but I went on a swamp walk with Clyde Butcher in the back of his house in the Everglades. And I was able to get this picture. It was really fun. I'd like to do it again. So that's that. And I don't know if you guys have any questions on those landscapes.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah.
A couple of questions from before that I missed. So Ruth asked before, I mean, I guess it was about the images that you took of people walking around. Did you have a dress code to be able to mingle with them?
In any of the countries, you mean?
Yeah, yeah. Since she asked the question of.
No. The only time I had a dress code that I could think of, it's really funny, and I don't have pictures from it, but I mean, I do, but I don't have it in this presentation. When I went to the Baha'i Gardens in Israel, they insisted that I put on something with sleeves. I had to run back to my car and get it, but no, nothing here, no.
Okay. The other question from Brian was about your infrared, if you use a converted camera.